So we're going to talk about Brazil today. Sounds like fun, right? Well, stick around and find out. If you like the video, please do like it. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. I really appreciate your watching. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Mark, and this is my journey through tarot. Come with. So I've got a new favorite channel. It's a Irish Granny Tarot. If you haven't tried it, take a look. It's pretty interesting. But she talks a lot. It's serious topics, and she's an interesting channel. But that's why what brought this to my attention. Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil. What's going on with this guy? Well, I'm going to tell you. So here we go. I'm going to tell you all about this fellow, what I wikied on him. I wikied the guy. So in 1955, and I'm usually pretty good with my Latin pronunciations, but we'll see how this goes, because this guy is Brazilian, so that's Portuguese. So let's see. In 1955, Jair Messias Bolsonaro was born in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Okay, he's an Aries. You know, they never give up. They're just go, go, go. He's a Brazilian politician, retired military officer, and now the 38th president of Brazil. He's been married 3 times and has 5 kids. Okay. Now, in 1973, in high school, I guess he was at the end of high school, he was admitted to Brazil's main military academy, the prep school of the Brazilian Army. And then in 1977, he graduated that as an artillery officer. And the superior said he was aggressive and had excessive ambition for financial and economic gain. And he's only 22 years old. In 1986, at 33 years old, he wrote a magazine article criticizing low wages for military officers and was arrested and detained for 15 days. A year later, the same magazine that he wrote the article for now accused him of planning to plant bombs in military units and publish sketches where the plan was detailed, supposedly made by Bolsonaro, which of course he denied. But after being convicted by a lower court, he gave an interview complaining about low military salaries and that the high command was firing officers due to budgetary cuts. And he became a household name for hard right-wingers and against the new civilian democratic government. The new civilian democratic government. Okay, he had a serious personality deviation and a professional deformation, lack of moral courage, and lied throughout the process. The general in charge voted to acquit him, and he was acquitted. So in 1988, he left the Army after 15 years and moved to the reserves, okay, the Army Reserves, to begin a political career. And he was elected locally as a member of the Christian Democratic Party. Now, in 1990, he's now elected to a chamber of Congress and then re-elected 6 times. So during his 27-year tenure as a congressman, he had strong support of conservatism. He opposes same-sex marriage, abortion, homosexuality, affirmative action, drug liberalization, and secularism. That's a hard word to say fast. Secularism. Huh. Anyway, he advocated closer relations to the United States and Israel. 1991 to 2018, this is going to span more than what I'm about to talk about, but during this period, he served as Brazil's Chamber of Deputies, representing the state of Rio de Janeiro. Now, in 1999, he's 44 years old, and Bolsonaro said that the only way of changing Brazil was by killing 30,000 people, beginning with the president. Regarding the former president of the Brazilian Central Bank, who invoked his right to remain silent during a congressional hearing, Bolsonaro was in favor of torture in this situation, and later kind of compared it like this. He says, ask a father of a kidnapped child what he would like him to do to discover where the child is. I guess this guy testifying to Congress was equivalent to a father losing his child. And what would the father do? You have to take brutal measures, and some consider those torture. 2002, he said, if I see 2 men kissing in the street, I'll beat them. If your child starts to become a little gay, you take a whip and you change their behavior. If a kid hangs out with someone who uses marijuana, he'll end up snorting. And if he hangs out with a gay person, he's going to turn into a faggot. That's what he said. Uh, 2007, he married his third wife. And then while in Congress, he hired her as a secretary. So over 2 years, she received unusual promotions and her salary more than tripled. Okay, he was forced to fire her after the Supreme Federal Court ruled that nepotism is illegal in public administration. 2011, in an interview with Playboy, okay, he said he would be incapable of loving a gay son and would prefer him to die in an accident. If a gay couple moved next door, it would lower the property value. In 2015, he's attributed with saying men and women should not receive the same salaries. Women get pregnant, and federal law mandating paid maternity leave harms work productivity. He was tried and convicted in a federal court on counts of hedonistic damages. Hedonic is relating to or considered in the terms of pleasant or unpleasant situations. So in 2016, he announced candidacy for president as a member of the Social Christian Party and portrayed himself as a supporter of family values. In an interview, an openly lesbian American actress, if I said her name, you know who she is, or now who he is, asked if Bolsonaro would have beaten her as a child. And he said, "You're very nice. If you were a cadet in the military academy and I saw you on the street, I would whistle at you, all right? You're very pretty." He added, over time, due to liberal habits, drugs, and women working, the number of homosexuals has really increased. And later he began to moderate his discourse on gay people with a YouTube video saying, if a man and a woman decide to form a couple with a same-sex person, go and be happy. The Supreme Court ruled he had potentially incited rape and defamed the honor of a fellow female deputy. Okay, an appellate court upheld the verdict, finding him guilty, and sentenced him to pay her roughly $2,500 US dollars if you converted it. This lawsuit was dismissed by the Supreme Federal Court, and he said the congresswoman was not worth raping. She's ugly. So 2017, the Court of Justice, this is all Brazil, the Court of Justice imposed a fine of their money, reals, of $150,000 for hate speech, or 150,000 reals for hate speech, when he said there is no risk of his family producing a homosexual child because his children had a good education. And said the first 4 of his kids were male, but for the 5th one, he produced a daughter out of a moment of weakness. He says minors should be treated as adults if they commit murder or rape. Now, in 2018, he stated during a rally, as a joke, I guess, that members of the Workers' Party in his administration would be shot and leftists would be arrested, purged, or taken to a Navy base where dissidents of the military dictatorship were actually murdered. It's called Take Him to the Beach, because this place, I guess, is on the beach or near the beach. He was elected to the Conservative Social Liberal Party with 55.1% of the popular vote before he cut ties with it. So he got elected by that party and then cut ties with it. Who does that remind you of in the United States, who has almost cut ties with the party that he's raped? Okay, I'll stop that. Before he cut ties with it, he placed Army officers in key cabinet positions as his ministers of justice, education, and the secretary of the government. The head of the Postal Service and other government officials resigned. He says each person after a certain age is the owner of their acts. A father does not want to come home to his son playing with a doll by the influence of the school. And homosexuals will be happy if he becomes president. Regarding the Amazon rainforest, government fines, warnings, and the confiscation or destruction of illegal equipment in protected areas decreased by 20%. Because why? Because in 2019, he was inaugurated as president and acquired immunity from prosecution. Just in general, he has said at various times throughout his career and some of this during his presidency, 3 short paragraphs. 1, he has said poor people are too uneducated to understand family planning, education. They are ignorant and they have no means to control their offspring. Upper middle class can control ours. He put forward 3 bills to remove legal restrictions to surgical sterilization. He removed legal restrictions to surgical sterilization, and he thinks poor people are not smart enough to have children and monitor them. He publicly endorses physical violence as a legitimate, necessary form of political action. He says children adopted by gays will be abused, and Brazil does not need legislation specifically targeting homophobia because most homosexuals are murdered by their pimps when good citizens are asleep, of course. And then finally, he rejects scientists on climate change and threatened to withdraw from the Paris Agreement for Brazil. Backed out of hosting the UN Climate Change Conference, called Global Warming a Plot, and eliminated the climate change division of the ministry. He also eliminated the Department of the Environment that deals with climate change and mitigation, plus another one dealing with deforestation, all eliminated. So that's our happy guy, Bolsonaro. Sounds like somebody else we know. And by the way, this is an infection that's spreading all across the world. Look at world leaders everywhere and see what similarities you notice. Also, it so happens that the CPAC, you know CPAC, American CPAC? No, that's global. They're over there supporting him, along with Steve Bannon and the rest of Trump's insiders. So let's see what the cards say. So these cards are terrific. This is the Klimt Tarot, and some of you may recognize this kind of gold foil, gold embossed artwork that is that Gustav Klimt is famous for. These are by Lo Scarabeo, and these cards are really amazing. They give you a perfect example of some of his works that really made him so famous. The cards are amazing. I'll show you in a second. The instruction booklet isn't really much. It's just some good information about Klimt, really, several pages on him. And then some typical descriptions for the cards, and with the reverse meanings written in italics, and it's in several different languages. So that's useful to lots of folks, I suppose. The containers, nothing to speak of, except that it does have beautiful examples of his art all the way around. And the cards are typical cards. I mean, they're easy to use, they're a shape that you're familiar with, and they're card stock that works pretty well. But the real star of the show here are the cards themselves. And they do come with little suggestions up here as to what the cards are in 4 different languages. So like these are wands. So you start to see them now, and you can see the gold foil in there and how beautifully everything is depicted, and they're just a real joy to use, and they just reinforce Klimt's use of nude figures, people in everyday poses and everyday shapes, so which wasn't very typical at the time. You wouldn't often find cards, or not cards, I'm sorry, but paintings that were so abrupt in showing how people actually look, and women in various positions of self-pleasure or with other women. So the cards are interesting, and if you go to Austria, you will just be inundated by examples of Klimt's art there. So I love using these cards. We'll see how they work. I gotta tell you, I hardly know where to start with this guy in Bolsonaro. But and these cards are perfect because the fella who these cards is named after, Klimt, was a bit of a strange guy. I mean, he lived most of his life after he became an adult and became a successful artist in his bathrobe and slippers in the house, and really didn't leave, and fathered like 14 kids. This guy Klimt. But so for Bolsonaro, and he had some strange ideas about government too, but for Bolsonaro, these cards should be perfect. But gosh, I'm not sure what to ask. Well, let's see first. Will he be reelected? And he will be reelected, but I'll tell you why. Because he has got complete control of the government, and he will do what was tried to be done here. He will either adjust the election results or declare them null and void, and stay in office. I mean, that's what Bolsonaro is all about, and he's got enough people in government, like number 45, our number 45 was trying to do. Bolsonaro has enough people in government to pull this off, it looks like, pretty seriously. So, will he be reelected? First question. I'm going to do that with just 3 cards. Will Bolsonaro be reelected? 1, 2, and 3. Probably should say, will he retain power is more likely. So will he retain power or be reelected? It's really the same thing. So the signifier card for this is the Empress. This is a very interesting depiction of the Empress in this card. I mean, it's ghoulish. The Empress, or in Portuguese, Imperatriz, as you may see right there, the La Imperatriz, so is ghoulish, and she really, the Empress, really has the power. You know, she is the one. She's almost like a Mother Nature, but in this ghoulish figure. So will he retain power? Maybe he will in this form. The second card for this, as to whether he will regain power, is the Lovers, Los Enamorados. So yes, so if he has found those partners and placed them in government so that he can work this out. So he will remain in power through his lover situation with the people he's placed in government. And then the third card for this is the Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups is just really having everything you ever wanted. But you'll notice here that these are a bunch of women all piled into the bed. And so he wouldn't, these are exactly the sort of demons that he would consider perfectly fine as long as they're all, their attention is for him. But if their attention is for each other, aside from his pleasure, no, this can't happen. So yeah, this is just an ugly, ugly opening read for this fellow Bolsonaro. So let's see. Let's try to figure out how long he'll retain power. I'm not sure how long the Brazilian presidencies are, but if he was elected in 2019 and 2021 now, they must be 3 or 4 years, I guess, because if he's running, like they're talking about the results of the presidential election already. So how many terms as president will he serve? Maybe that's too specific. Will he serve several additional terms as president besides this just one? I like that better. Will he serve several additional terms as president besides this extra one he's won now? Okay, I will win. So 1, again, 3 cards, 2 and 3. Let's see what we got here. Will he serve several additional terms as president? So 6. Look at that. 6. So the 6 of Wands are plans, actions, motion, power, and victory. So 6 terms as president. Second card for that, another 6, just to confirm the first one. This is the 6 of Cups. This will be, the 6 of Cups is wishing things were the way they were. Does that sound like Make America Great Again to you? You know, it's the MAGA group that are backing him with their now expertise that they picked up here in the United States as a practice run. They're the ones behind him over there now. So 6. What's the third card of this? Is a 7. So the 7 of the major arcana is the Chariot, or in Latin, El Carro. So yeah, so it looks like this is going to happen without delay, without hesitation, and he's going to sacrifice women for it. So that we have it right there. Pretty clear. Let's ask this. Let's see if those people who are influencing Bolsonaro, or who are educating, let's say, the folks who are educating Bolsonaro right now, which are the CPAC, global CPAC, who would have thought? Political Action Committee, conservative, is global. Amazing. Let's see. Is it the ties to CPAC specifically, because that's USA related? There are other evil forces behind him, but let's see about CPAC. Is CPAC... No, I'm not going to let that be twisted like that. I will look at these cards quickly. So this is a reaffirmation of what we said earlier. And the Knight of Pentacles, CPAC, this is money. So let's stick these back in here. And it looks like the cards are ready, really, to tell a story. So CPAC, is this the major accomplice in his game? We'll take a dyadic cross, perhaps a Celtic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and this will be dyadic cross. There's 6 cards, but if it's looking interesting, we'll go on another 4. So is it CPAC that is a major influence, a major cause of him being able to win the next time around? Signifier of that card, 6. Look at that 6 come back up again, just to reaffirm to me that yeah, CPAC is the winning formula, I guess the winning ingredient in this situation. So this is 6 of Wands. Wands are action, motion, power, fire, and the 6 of Wands is victory. So CPAC, yep, looks like they're it. The challenge to that then is the Hermit. And so the Hermit is pretty far up in the major arcana. He's number 9. And, you know, this says to me the challenge to CPAC making things happen is the Hermit. And what the Hermit are, those decent people in Brazil who are maybe thinking, well, Let's wait. Let's take a look. Let's see what's ahead of us before we make a move. And for this hermit that hasn't worked out all that well, he's skin and bone, and he looks like he's really starving to death. So that's the challenge to this CPAC, which doesn't seem like much of a challenge at all. The base of this reading for, wow, is the world. And we just said that the CPAC is a global institution that I had no idea that they were involved in other affairs besides the United States. So yeah, the world organization of this is underpinning the whole thing. The past of this reading then is the sun. So yeah, the sun had shone, and but now everything is obscured. And so we're not this. We had sunshine in the past, and of course, you think of Brazil, and you think of sun and happy times. But for me, this was in the past. The sun has shone on it even now, and there doesn't seem much to do to stop it. In the sky of this reading, as to whether the CPAC, the global CPAC, is behind this, is death. Look at that. The best you can expect is death. And I'm going to say this is death of democracy, because that's what we're talking about here. The democracy of Brazil. Okay, death. Sad. The likely outcome of this situation then is the Three of Pentacles, and the Three of Pentacles is, I always say, so this is shows a woman really playing, what is this, I forget what this instrument is called, but really playing this instrument to produce some sort of sound to send out into the world. I always say it's a collaboration for produce something for public display. And so that's what they've done. So they have collaborated, and they produced this model that looks like it's going to get perfected in Brazil. My goodness. Well, let's flush it out. I don't know how it can get any worse, but let's flush it out. Let's see. Will this cancer infiltrate the United States again? Will this cancer that's guiding Brazil, CPAC, successfully infiltrate the United States again? Will CPAC, well, it has already infiltrated. I need something clearer than that. Will CPAC actually produce another president in the United States relatively soon? Let's say that. Will CPAC produce another president in the vein of this one in the United States? Oof. 4 cards. The self of that is, well, yeah, they're trying. Yeah, the knight is the one who fights for what the court's looking for. He's carrying that value, and so yeah, they're willing to fight for it. That's what they're fighting for. The environment that they're in, however, is the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is truth and justice. And this queen is holding on to her truth. She's holding on to her justice. And she's looking over and she's saying, these are women. Women are the ones who are going to save us. And these women are looking over and saying, I'm going to stop you. Calmly. The queen is stronger than the knight. Okay? The queen is closer to the top of the game than the knight is. The hopes and the fears for this then are the wheel of fortune. So the wheel of fortune just tells us that, you know, it is all up to how we respond, how the wheel rolls. And we have to make sure that we're doing our part so this wheel comes out in our favor. Us being good, decent people who don't want to destroy the world and democracy. And then the final outcome for all of this then, for will CPAC provide another a winning candidate in the United States, is judgment. Judgment. I think this speaks to something even bigger than what I'm talking about. I think what we're experiencing now worldwide is a global sort of a judgment, sort of a balancing out, sort of a trial and error of how things are going to go in this iteration of humanity. So judgment. But it doesn't tell me if we will definitely have another CPAC candidate soon. So very quick, 3 cards maximum. I might stop at any time. 2 of Swords. If we have to make a choice, we have to decide which way to go. Interesting, this card, because it looks like 2 men here. So we have to make a choice. Will they produce another one? The 9 of Pentacles is having everything that you need and more. This is the 9 of Pentacles. This is having so much wealth that you can accomplish what you need. And so it looks like CPAC is going to have plenty of money to get it done. And then the final card for this then is going to be the High Priestess. Use your intuition. In Latin, in Spanish, this is la sacerdotisa, I suppose. I try. Yeah, so I can't attribute the high priestess to an evil outcome. I just can't. I have to say that the high priestess is going to have our back. We have to use our intuition and know that if we continue to fight for what's right, she's a priestess. Okay, she's not a devil. That will come out okay. So that was very interesting. Gosh, it's a spooky read, to tell you the truth. But we started out, is it the CPAC, and they come up with that 6 again. Yeah, they're right there. And trust me, every year that they are stronger in some other government, they're stronger here in our government. And it was challenged by what? By the hermit's inaction. They're challenged by the hermit's inaction, which is no action at all, really, no challenge at all. The basis of the whole thing is the world. It's a global organization, and they're doing what they've set out to do. The past of this thing was the sun. The sun had shone and showed us what's going on, and we need to pay attention. In the sky of the whole thing was death. And death of what? Death of democracy, perhaps? The likely outcome of the whole thing then is the 3 of Pentacles. They're building something for public display. They're building that global organization. And then for the self of that question as to whether we'll have another corrupt CPAC endorsed leader here, we come up with the 9 of Pentacles. That's what they're fighting for. Challenged by, in the environment of Queen of Swords, strong women who are going to do their best to make sure this doesn't happen, truth and justice. The likely outcome, or the hopes and the fears, was the Wheel of Fortune. It's still a crapshoot. We've all got to do our part. It can go either way. And then the likely outcome of the whole thing then was judgment. It's about how we're judged and how we come out on top of this. So it's not cut and dried. There will be a judgment for it. And then just to try to clarify it, are we going to have another bad guy? We get the 2 of Swords, which is, make a choice. Make a decision. And that's the second card in that lineup was the 9 of Pentacles, because they've got plenty of money and support and infrastructure to get it done. And then the final outcome of the thing was the High Priestess. And I have to tell you, the High Priestess is not bad. The High Priestess is good. And we have to make sure that we use our intuition and we use the knowledge that the High Priestess brings us to do what we know is right. Off my soapbox. We'll do something else later. Well, I'm Mark. This has been my journey through tarot. I'll be doing it again tomorrow if you want to go, so stop on by. Ciao for now.